I want to share with you our easy and flexible homeschool routine and how we go about setting that, how I go about creating it, and the steps that I take in order to be really thoughtful and purposeful with our time in our homeschool and making sure we're hitting on some of those goals that I've set for the year, and just sharing with you how I have an overall balance of our week and kind of group things together so that they all sort of flow really well in our homeschool days. My name is Tiffany and this is Hint to Life Homeschool. My channel is all about motherhood, homeschooling and organisation. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. If those things interest you, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to connect with you. I also have an Instagram account, and because I am sharing about routines today, if you're interested in seeing more of our day-to-day activities, go on over there. I will leave the handle down here. Go on over there and check it out and follow me. I'd love to connect with you there and chat with you over there. In the initial routine setting, I always look at my goals for the year and I take into account what I could possibly fit in this term, knowing full well that I have 3 other terms in the year to address certain things. So it doesn't all need to be addressed right now, but I love to try and work in and see where I can sprinkle those things in. I have broken how I set a routine up into some simple steps that you can take in your homeschool. The first step that I like to do is I like to have access to all the books and all the curriculum that I am going to be using that term. So for the period of time that I'm planning a routine for, I like to have access to all of those things. So for me, that's easy because I keep everything on my homeschool cart. So it's just a matter of wheeling that into my office space and or wherever you're working and just going through it. So I just have that visual. I'm a very visual person, so I like to have that visual of really registering how much work or how much time when I'm setting things to just make sure I'm being realistic with, how long things take. Because often my mistakes in the past have been underestimating how long things take and then overscheduling us, and then that results to stress. So I'm aware that I tend to do that, so I make sure I tend to just hold back with that, and I really check in with making sure I'm not doing too much or assigning too much. Second step that I take is I plan out or write out in a list all of our non-negotiables. So my non-negotiables and my kids' non-negotiables as well. So that's just basically involving a conversation that I usually have in advance with my kids, on the drive home from somewhere or whatever. I've already checked in with them in preparation for this day where I'm planning out my routine. So I already know, what's going on there and what they might want to prioritize. By non-negotiables, I'm meaning things that are set in stone. So appointments, tutoring, things that are reoccurring and happen at a set time each week. So those are your things that you start to put in first. So you know what days they're happening and when they're happening. You know that if co-op's happening on a Thursday, you need to make sure that you're not scheduling a bunch of work. Think about what you can achieve in the drive there and the drive home perhaps, and just be really creative with how you approach that planning. But your routine is not going to work if you're scheduling stuff in on days that you're not actually going to be at home, or days that it's really not going to be able to be done. We need to be realistic with our routines in order for them to be successful. So for us, it's really gymnastics. A lot of things have been dropped off due to things that are going on in Australia. So it's just a matter of really putting in our gymnastics on the set day and making sure that, I'm aware that there's travel time involved with that, and that I am being realistic with what I can achieve on that day with the kids. The third step is really looking at the curriculum, and if you haven't already worked out how many lessons you need to have assigned for each week and what that looks like. So for example, you can look at your curriculum. The index is that's where I tend to go, the index of your curriculum, if there is one, or the amount of lessons that are in the curriculum, and divide that by however many weeks in the year that you homeschool. And then you go work backwards from there. So basically it's 10 weeks that I have in my term. We work in 10-week blocks. And I assign the amount of lessons for each subject that I want to achieve within those weeks to reach a finished curriculum. Now, some people are really rigid with that, and that is totally okay. I am not. I like to be flexible. I have goals. I have already set goals. I have looked at the Australian curriculum. I have some reference books that I love to use. I just check them off as we go through our curriculum, as we go through the year. I usually spend a bit of time at the end of the term just going through it all and really just figuring out where we're at with that. So the curriculum is important, and I do feel that I'd like to have it finished, but I don't push it, because the rabbit trails that I leave time for are far more important. I think my biggest goal, the big goal here, is to have my children have a love of learning, a natural love of learning. And if I'm, squashing out those opportunities for rabbit trails and for them to, follow their own interests in particular things, that's kind of breaking down that love of learning. And I'm forcing something else on them when they are really wanting to be doing something else that is equally valuable. So I often find, as time has gone on, I've really realized that they naturally hit those milestones that they need to hit, and often they're far ahead if they have a really big love for that subject. Other subjects where it feels like they're falling behind or they're not quite as strong in, that's up to you. You might want to watch that a little bit more carefully, but often they don't tend to have rabbit trails with the subjects that they struggle more in, if that makes sense. So it kind of seems to balance itself out. I feel like the subjects that they're really strong in is where my kids tend to kind of really go into those investigations, and I allow them to. And the subjects that they're not quite as strong in and they're not as confident, we tend to just follow the curriculum as it is expected. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to achieve all of the lessons that curriculum expects. Don't look at that dividing all of those lessons up and go, oh my gosh, that is so much work to go through. Some of those lessons could just be a conversation. You don't have to do that experiment because they've already done it, or they already know it. They know that we've learned that in another natural setting. You can skip it. You can make a note of that in your planner or however you plan, or however you take your observation notes, and make a note of that, saying they already know this was done on this day, or whatever is appropriate for your kind of registration rules and things that you need to follow. But I think the important thing is to remember here is that our goals really are, well, my goal is really to just allow my kids to fall in love with learning. Learning is everywhere and everything. So I don't like to be super strict with my schedule, but we have a guide and I know how many lessons need to be done. And then I have a plan if we don't do all of them. We cut some out. We really look at it and see opportunities where we can drop a few things so that we finish that curriculum, or we just carry it over to the next year or the next term and start, choose when we want to start. It's flexible. That's what homeschooling is all about, especially if we love a curriculum. I've been known to hold on to it and drag it out for quite some time. There's no like right or wrong when it comes to that, in my opinion. Others may think differently, and that is totally okay as well. I think that it's really just being okay with your decision and making sure that you're confident in your decision. And that the reason why I'm confident in my decision to approach it that way is because I've already researched and done, my own goal setting for the learning that my kids are experiencing. And that's how I've become confident in my choices. Once we have worked out how many lessons we need per week, we work out where they fit in our days. So obviously, as I've mentioned, if you've got gymnastics on a certain day, you're not going to pile a whole heap of work on that day. You're going to work out what you might be able to do in the car on the trip there or on the trip home, and kind of work around that. Have a plan in place so that you can still do those things as well, and just be creative with your approach. So when you're assigning the amount of work that you want to achieve in the day, my tip for you is to leave wiggle room. In the past, I have made the mistake of over assigning, of over planning, and it really does make a difference to have that breathing space for myself and for the kids. It allows me to not be, come on, we need to keep moving, hurry up. Like, we don't want that. It's okay to kind of go, okay, well, we need to wrap this up, but we can come back to that later if you still feel like doing it. Having some options and giving options to my kids is really important for me and for them, and to maintain that, team mentality in our homeschool days. When you're thinking about the amount of work that you're going to, assign for that day, make sure you're leaving wiggle room. Make sure you're actually I encourage planning in a day for adventure, or a day for, a hobby, or some time for a hobby, or just incorporating, making a plan for the things that address some of your goals, perhaps. Making sure that you're allowing that breathing space. And that could just simply mean, okay, on Friday, it is our adventure day. And that's as much as you need to plan right now. You don't have to have everything planned. You don't have to have chosen all the curriculum or all of the actual work that you're going to do. We're just talking about a routine here, so we can just put into our routine that we're going to do mindfulness on this day. So that could look like some meditation, or some yoga, or some journaling. It could just be the intention of what you want to do on that day, amongst other things. And then you can go back and actually go, okay, so that's the prompt, that's right, I wanted to do that day. So now I'm going to actually look at what that could look like. What am I going to use for that? Am I going to buy a book? Am I going to buy a curriculum? Am I going to buy a unit study? Or am I just going to make something and put it up together myself? That's up to you. But really, routine is all about setting intentions for how you're going to spend your day. The other thing I really love to keep in mind is balancing out the messy stuff. So we are a very hands-on homeschool. We really like to do the messy experiments. They're so much fun. That's what brings us joy. That's when we get the big laughs at the fails and all of the things that go wrong in science. And that brings us so much joy. But I hate, there's moments where I just really regret loving messy experiments. I really don't love the mess that they make, but they bring us joy. So the balance is making sure that I have kind of sprinkled these more exciting and fun and messy and often rabbit trail inducing days or lessons. I've split them up. So I'm not like doing 3 messy things in one day. Or I'm just really thinking about how that looks realistically. Am I going to need an hour to clean up after that? Are we all going to be needing an hour of our day to just clean all that up? Do I really want 2 hours of cleaning in that day because I've done cooking in the morning and science in the afternoon? Just think about the time that's involved in, wrapping up those lessons and finishing them up. So then that way, everything is kind of just balanced out nicely, and I know that I have space to breathe. Next step is really getting that routine into something, into a planner, into a platform, whatever your choice is. Please make it flexible. I cannot emphasize enough that flexibility is key here. Homeschooling, no matter what kind of homeschool you have, flexibility is needed because it is home life. It is a lifestyle and things happen, and you need to be able to just be able to live a home life and not be a slave to your curriculum. So I say that a lot. I know I say that a lot, but I just think it's so important that we make sure that we're, you know, working homeschool into our lives rather than feeling like we have to look at it separately. So once you have your planner or planning platform, it is smooth sailing from there. For me, it's just a matter of plugging it into Freely, setting the routine, then each week I just grab the lessons that I pre-planned at the beginning of the term. I can change the order in according to what the kids want to do first. I love that. I can change the date if we didn't get the work finished and need to finish it the next day. So that is my process with creating a new routine. A routine is a game changer for a homeschool, but the key is to keep it flexible and to actually, you know, try and work in some habits, some healthy habits, like making sure that you actually are allocating time to hobbies or to, you know, anything that you feel like you might need to work on. That's the great thing about homeschooling. It doesn't have to always be academics. It can be about, you know, life skills and all of those wonderful things that often we overlook because it doesn't fall under the banner of education. This term, we are embracing that and we are going headstrong into learning a lot of life skills, doing a lot of time management skills. We are so excited about gymnastics. We are still spending lots of time in the garden on the weekends, and we are incorporating some special time with Dad as well. So the kids are going to be spending some special time with Dad on a Saturday doing HPE while I work. And it's all, actually, I'm really excited about this routine. I think this could be our best term yet. So I hope that is the case for you as well. I hope that maybe this video has given you some prompts or some ideas that you haven't thought of before in regards to like setting out a routine for your homeschool. If it has, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on our routine, how I go about it. And if you have any questions, reach out as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.